Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and today we are going to be looking at the Utah Slab bass kit from the Fretwire. Now this, if you haven't figured it out, is the solution to the trademark infringed mod bass kit, which mysteriously disappeared overnight one time, and then a couple weeks later, this bad boy was for sale. If you're wondering why that happens with Rickenbacker style anything, well, the short story is Rickenbacker is better at winning lawsuits than they are at making guitars. So this is our solution. We can build one for ourselves without infringing on trademark. We just can't build it for others to make a profit. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Well, really, I'm just going to be building a bass for myself that is going to be, let's say, loosely inspired by a Rickenbacker bass. I'm going to take a few turns and make it my own. But the bottom line, and the reason why I'm making this video, is because if you've always loved the classic styling of the Rickenbacker design, but you don't necessarily like the tone or playability or price tag, such as I, then you still have some options about how you could get one for yourself. So, I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started building the bass. All right, now, upon inspection of this kit, I gotta say I'm a little bit disappointed. You know, this thing's made out of ash, and typically ash has really beautiful wood grain, but I got all the end cuts. My grain is all just these vertical lines, which is not all that exciting to me. The good news is we have a good straight neck, which is pretty much always the case from the Fretwire. I've never gotten a bad neck from them. The frets are pre-leveled, crowned, and polished, but I've actually never really had good luck with the Fretwire with those. I usually end up redoing them. And then we've got a nice tight-fitting net pocket there, so I'm really happy about that. So that definitely gives us a really good start on this project. Now you can see they're still shipping them with these pick guards. That's probably a trademark design, so I'm not sure how they're getting away with that. They don't use the trademarked Rickenbacker bridge, which honestly is a good thing. If you guys have ever used a Rickenbacker bridge, they are horrendous for adjustment. They are just no fun at all. I don't like them. The only thing good about them is that they look cool. I think this looks a bit ridiculous. I've got a different bridge on the way that I like a lot better. They of course come with a jazz pickup for the rear and a little cover plate so you can kind of make it look like a Rickenbacker if you want to. Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm not gonna build this up as a traditional Rickenbacker because, like I mentioned earlier, I don't really care for the tone of Rickenbackers, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, but Lemmy, but Motorhead! I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Lemmy's tone didn't come from the Rickenbacker. 90% of that tone came from his outboard gear and his hands. And I know that because nobody ever playing a Rickenbacker has ever gotten close to Lemmy's tone. So we're gonna give him credit for that, not Rickenbacker. Actually, what I'm going to make was inspired a little bit from a Rickenbacker clone I saw on DHgate that was actually a jazz bass. I love jazz basses, and I've got a really nice set of jazz bass pickups that I've been looking to put in a project. So it's going to be a Rickenbacker inspired design, but it's definitely going to be a jazz bass. So obviously our first step is going to be to draw out and cut out our shape. Now, I'm sure there's like some paper templates that I could find online, print up and trace to get the exact shape, but I'm really just going to kind of look at a picture and freehand it, and then I'm gonna make a few subtle changes to it myself, just because again, I wanna do something that's just a little bit different. Okay, loosely the shape of a Rickenbacker. One thing that I'm realizing for my jazz bass build is that, so my bridge is gonna go here, just barely cover up this bridge hole. I wish they hadn't drilled that because that's kind of in the wrong spot. All right, so based on my calculations, this is where the bridge saddles would be with the neck as is, and that's just too far. So I want to actually move it forward about an inch. So to compensate for the scale length, we are going to need to move the neck forward about an inch. So there to there, yeah. So it's going to be about-ish right there. So I'm just going to adjust the pattern. I'm going to make it a little more offset looking. It's going to be a little less Rickenbacker looking, I guess. All right, so here's my new modified Rickenbacker inspired design. It's a little bit more offset. So basically I had to kind of just stretch it on both ends. That way we could come up all the way here to the neck, but also reach this electronics cavity down there and make sure there's plenty of meat down there. All right, just so there's no surprises down the road, make sure everything worked. I went ahead and kind of penciled in loosely where that front pickup's gonna go. I penciled in my new design for the pick guard, which I'll be making out of 1/8 inch birch plywood. And the cool thing about this is that I left enough room where I could go ahead and use this pickup cover on the front pickup as opposed to the rear pickup, which is a much better place for it as far as playability goes. And so this truly is going to be a mashup between like a 70s jazz bass and a Rickenbacker. So I'm pretty excited for this. This is looking really cool. Let's go ahead and cut it out. Alright, so for the headstock design, clearly this neck is designed to be a 2+2 headstock. I got nothing against that. I just really like lefty headstocks, and especially since I'm trying to get rid of some spare parts, I have some lefty tuners, and with this being an angled headstock, I can't do my typical design. Because of the angle, I really don't need to. It's going to give the strings a nice break angle. So I'm going to go ahead and use these lefty tuners that I had purchased forever ago. They're Wilkinson. They're really nice tuners. I like them. And I just made a lefty headstock design that I think kind of matches the sort of classic and also funky styling of this body. It's kind of weird seeing a 4 inline headstock with a Rickenbacker shaped body. Like I said, I'm making this thing my own. So let me know what you guys think. Alright, I'm going to try a new staining and dyeing technique today. This is something that I've been wanting to do ever since I discovered a happy accident when I was building that Meteora style base, when I used an oil-based stain and then lightly sanded back and went over it with a water-based dye. It gave a really cool two-tone effect, and I'm hoping that'll bring some of this wood grain to life. As you can see, the wood grain on the sides here is absolutely beautiful, but the wood grain on the top and the back is not as beautiful. So I'm hoping this will sort of bring out a little bit of flair in that wood grain. For my stain, I'm going to be using this Minwax True Black. I use this often. And then I'm going to go over the top with some Rit dye. So after staring at this for a while, I just can't figure out why I don't love it. And so I enlisted the help of my wife, who said that it just needs to be more blue. But anytime I add more blue, it just makes it more purple. So she helped me figure out that if we just diluted the blue a little bit, it comes out less purple. So this is a 1-to-1 blue to water dilution, and I'm happy with this color. So now I've got to do the rest of it. All right, yeah, I think this mixture of blues and blacks kind of matches the now cobalt blue color of my guitar. So I think I'm finally ready to put a finish on this bad boy. Trying out something new today, True Oil. This is probably the #1 recommended thing from you guys that I could try to replace my precious Formby's tongue oil finish. Well, it does yellow it quite a bit, which is not bad. Formby's did too. I don't think quite this much. Something that I do like about this over the Formby's is the 2-hour dry and recoat time. Formby's was, I believe, 8 hours. I will say though, unlike the Minwax Poly that I'm trying to replace, this stuff definitely blends together much easier. I can tell that this is going to give a much finer luster. It doesn't get as sticky as quickly as the polyurethane does. Yeah, aside from the major yellowing, I can tell that this is an oil that's going to work well. The question then is, how is that yellowing effect going to affect my blue color that I've worked so hard on? It took me a day to decide whether I really like this True Oil or not. And I think that I really like it. It does want to gloss up more than my Formby's. You can fix the glossiness just by buffing lightly with some steel wool, which is actually what it says you need to do in between coats. This seemed to really bring out more depth and dimension to my color. I'll be honest, I was really on the fence about this color up until this point. The two things that saved it, I mentioned that my wife told me to try diluting the blue, and that was a huge game changer. But then adding the True Oil definitely brought out the depth and dimension to all the different colors that are in here. Oh, shizzle. All right, so while this sets and dries and builds up the sheen that we want, I'm going to take a quick break to show you something that I am very excited about. This is a new kit that I got from Bad Cat. It's a zebra wood telly style kit. I was hoping for a Strat kit. They sent me a telly kit. Now typically when I get a product, it goes straight to the bottom of the list and I get to it when I get to it. Unless it's something I am legitimately excited about, then it might go straight to the top of the list. And this is the case with this kit. So right now I'm going to leave this project as is and go make a review video for that kit. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. We'll finish this next week and I'll see you in that next video.